Alright guys, welcome back. So today I just kind of wanted to get on here and just talk. Just talk about this particular subject, but every man can be an island. I mean, I'm sure you know the old phrase, every man is an island. Well, that's what the title of this video is going to be. It's going to be, every man can be an island. Right? And I just think thinking about that, it makes more sense to me instead of how every man is an island. In the movie Castaway, we had we have the guy who was a FedEx systems engineer. He had a big crash and landed on an island, right? And he was there for about 4 years. And yeah, sorry, unfortunately, guys, I'm probably going to be spoiling this movie, but he really has his wits about him. He gets smarter and more wise and learns. He educates himself about how he can survive on the island. He wasn't completely helpless as you can see in the movie. How he was just even able just to start a basic fire, right? So he knew a few different skills, or maybe he learned them over a period of times or weeks where it was just a couple minutes for the people watching it. But like in that whole scenario of survival, if you don't really know any skills or a particular set of skills on the basics of like camping or starting up a brush fire or something like that, kindle, you're not going to last very long out in the elements, right? And his elements were, in the middle of the ocean, dealing with tropical storms, high and low tides. And he had to gauge, where he could be at certain times, right? During the season, during the day, where he was just out and about, trying to gather food, forage food, collect coconuts, collect water, make shelter, make his environment more livable, right? So there's that, and I think over time he learned what he could do and what he couldn't do. But 4 years go by. He finally leaves the island, and he gets back to civilization. He gets back to the world, right? He becomes a part of the world again. And he's celebrated and congratulated, but at the same time, he lost everything, and at the same time, I know that this movie's kind of sad, towards the end. If you watch the ending of it, you see what happens next, and you see how, he's basically a castaway, hence the title of the movie, right? He's stuck as an islander. He becomes an island as a man, right? And I just kind of think back, and I may be wrong about this movie. I may be completely wrong about this movie, about how the story kind of unfolded and everything. But I just thought my takeaway was this. What would happen if? Because some of the things I picked up on is that he was a bit of a workaholic for the company FedEx. And I'm not speaking down about mailmen or postal service people or FedEx in general. I'm not. But I'm just thinking about how much more full his life could have been if he didn't work so much, if he didn't have to take so many trips, he didn't have to be there all the time. But I guess being a systems engineer is a pretty intense job, and it probably called a lot of his time away from home, as you can see throughout the movie. But I thought of a flip side to the story, right? Let's just say to the flip side of the story that he didn't get on that plane, during the movie, and he even says it at the end of the movie. I should have never gotten on that plane, And I'm just thinking back to what would happen if he could have already had his finances in order. Let's say he could have already had his house in order. Let's put it that way, okay? Taking a speaking spot from Jordan Peterson right here. Have your house in order, right? Make your house in order. Have your house in order, right? What would happen if he would have had his own business where he could have worked from home? What would happen if he could have been better off financially, somehow doing something else, right? Now, I know the likelihood of getting in a plane crash like that is very unlikable. It's one of the safest ways to travel, but in this story, it happened. And in this point, and in this part of his life, you know, he becomes an island, right? Because he thought that he had a duty. He had to be a slave to time. He had to not commit the sin of falling behind on time, right? It says something like that in the movie, right? But I could only imagine, like, what would happen if he would have had his own business where he could have worked from home, maybe working online, have other people to go do these traveling errands for him. And he could have manifested and created the life that he really wanted with his wife, with his future wife or his girlfriend at the time, right, in the story. And so I just think that, like, maybe this is a kind of an allegory, you know, and like I said, I could be wrong on this, but I'm just flipping the script around a bit and giving you guys this allegory of, like, you know, the jobs that we do and the vocations that we take on sometimes aren't the things that we want to do. We just do it for the money. Sometimes we just do it for the sweet check, the benefits, and we're not really feeling fulfilled in our lives. Well, what would happen if we actually started doing the things that gave us meaning, that we felt proud of, that we felt like it was our mission to accomplish? You know, and that's why I named the title of this video the title that it's called, because I believe that every man can be an island if he separates himself from his purpose, right? He separates himself from his mission. You know, and I'm not saying that these jobs are bad to do, but what I'm saying is that you could easily be doing something that you love to do, and you wouldn't have to be working these certain vocations or these certain jobs that you really don't like doing, you know, that you really don't want to be doing in the long term for the next 20 or 30 years, right? And so all I can really say is just, you know, never lose sight of the goal. Never lose sight of the mission that's at hand, right? Work on getting off of that island, right? See what the tide can bring into you every day that keeps you breathing. And get off that island and go on to the next one. You know, instead of becoming an island as a man, be in the world, but be your own man, right? We have to come back to the world so that way we can accomplish our mission. We can't be off on the island where we have this comfort. You know, we can't be on the island where we have this comfort and this dismay that, you know, that I'm stuck here. You know, and I mean, he was beaten down by the waves. He was beaten down by the surf. And, you know, the island was a good thing and a bad thing for him, but it kept him breathing. It kept him fed. You know, it kept him wondering, you know, what the tide was, what will the tide bring in next for him, right? Excuse me. So I may have gotten off topic a little bit, but what I was getting at was, what would happen if he would have just had everything in order, didn't go on the plane, didn't crash land on an island, right? He wasn't so enveloped in his work, too. That was my next point I was going to bring up. Like, it's important to have a job. Like I said, these jobs aren't bad. It's important to have a job, to have an income, right? You need to have an income to gain sustainability for the time being, at least until you can get your side gig going off or your business going off, right? But I think it's so important not to be a workaholic, because then you'll miss things, whether it's just some time off that you have by yourself and you get to focus on that book, maybe focus on your side gig again, or that time that you get to spend with your family, with your friends, with your girlfriends, girls, speaking to the, you know, girls, boyfriends, you get to spend that time with them, right? So it's important to not lose sight of what you have, because I think another thing that I was able to take away from this movie about how every man can be an island in the movie Castaway, I think is, you know, you never know what you have until it's gone. So anyways, I just wanted to get on here and talk. I could be completely wrong about how that whole thing played out in the movie, but that was something that I was able to create in my head as an allegory. I hope that you guys liked it. And that would be the conclusion of how every man can be an island. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.